What's up, Kabroda crew? Welcome back. Thanks for joining the live stream again. Hopefully y'all are doing good. Guess random stuff's popping up on my computer. Yeah, we're hopefully y'all are doing good though. We're back here for another live stream today, kind of checking out the market, seeing what's going on, see if anything new's happening, seeing what's going on. So yeah, glad to have y'all here. Glad to have y'all joining the live stream and checking us out. You know, whether you're returning or you're new, thanks for joining. If you guys wouldn't mind hitting that like button, just helps our channel grow, helps us reach more people that hopefully we can help on the road to financial freedom. So yeah, thanks for joining again. Yeah, we'll kind of jump right into it. We got a little bit here going on today. A little bit of a run here from last night, actually. So, you know, we've kind of been running sideways most of the day, or not. Sorry, not most of the day. Most of the week, really. We kind of ran sideways a little bit, ran up a little bit. Actually, I guess Monday we kind of broke down, and then since then we kind of been running sideways. We did get a little break up here on Tuesday into Wednesday morning. Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, and then Wednesday we kind of broke down there, but still, you know, not a whole lot of price action even with that. And then obviously, you know, a little bit of a good move here. But yeah, again, you know, like looking back at the time, like this was Wednesday's levels here. You know, levels from yesterday, and you can see it's just kind of within the range there. We just didn't have really anything happen. I mean, we kind of came up, hit the top of the range, came down, started to go for a test at the bottom of the range. Didn't actually get all the way there, but essentially, you know, we got pretty close. So came back up through, and then we kind of just been bouncing around this 200. And then, you know, this morning we kind of bounced off the bottom here, and we're kind of running up into open today. So we'll see what happens. You know, I say open, but really I just mean like the New York session open. Not really. Obviously Bitcoin is 24/7, so never really get well, I guess we do get an open, but you know, that's at 7 o'clock, so you know, New York open. But yeah, today we're getting a little bit of a sell-off here, you know, just on the start of the morning as we're kind of checking out the charts. You know, obviously after the run up this morning. So see what happens. We'll get our lines in the chart, see what's going on. Probably going to be a little crazy just because of how the chart kind of ran up, you know, into right now. So we'll see what they look like, see what's happening, and then we'll kind of go based off of that. Looks like we have a couple people joining the chat saying hello. So looks like Kathleen's here. It looks like Terry's here. Thanks for joining, y'all. Thanks for saying hello in the chat. Glad y'all are here. All right, let's jump into it. We'll head on over to Kabroda.com, kind of check it out, and then we'll go from there. So if you haven't ever seen it before, this is Kabroda.com. Obviously, it is. Well, not even obviously, but it's not available to the public right now, so this is pretty much the only place you'll see it. But this is kind of the brain behind Kabroda, so we'll kind of look at it. You know, we'll see what it says about the market, what we're thinking about the market. The whole site's kind of ran by our AI that we've built and taught to trade. So, you know, we'll kind of check it out. It's actually multiple AIs that we've kind of built and taught to trade. So that's what multi-agent system stands for. So if you see AMAS on the site, that's what it's talking about. All right, so today Bitcoin is sitting around 64,916. That was as of 8 o'clock this morning. So obviously we dropped a little bit below that, as you can see that candle in the chart. We are bearish with 3 out of 5 of the indicators showing a bearish signal. So bearish, but only a little bit. You know, we could be a little more bearish for sure. Our the chart's kind of burning out, so it's losing some momentum. We don't have as much energy. That's kind of what that means. And then the jewel is lined up with the bearish sentiment, so that's good for us. The multi-agent system today is telling us to stand down. So essentially, we don't have anything on our system that we're looking to trade today, but it doesn't mean that your system couldn't be firing today. It just simply means that the way that we trade and the stuff that we look for to happen within the market is not happening today. So we'll go ahead and check out the market, look at the rest of it, but that's kind of the overall, theme. That's what's going on today is stand down, which essentially means for our system that you're better off to kind of just stay away from the charts. Obviously you can look at it and see what's going on, but you're not going to be taking anything or jumping on any trades or anything like that because the system's just not really behind you. Breakout today is 65,046 and breakdown is 63,727. If you wanted to copy those, you're welcome to pause it and grab those right now. But we're gonna keep chugging along. So we have no 4-hour trade today. We do have a 1-hour long. So we're going for 64,500 is the entry, and then you have 63,825 as the stop, and 65,174 is the long target. So that's what we're looking to take it to. So pretty decent. I'll throw that on the chart, so here in a minute we can check it out. And then we'll grab the lines actually and go back to Kabroda here, or sorry, not Kabroda. We'll go back to our trading view here and kind of get everything set up for today. So we're going to switch the day to Thursday and we'll get our levels. All right, so here are our levels today. Pretty wide gap, so pretty big move there. That's pretty interesting there with a 2.5, so pretty wide. You do have your dash line here, which is your daily resistance, and then you have the dash one down here, which is daily support. Daily resistance, so the gap between daily resistance and the breakout trigger is normally a good indicator if we're going to run up. And the gap today is a 0.99, so that's pretty good. Pretty much we look for anything over 0.5 and under about 1.5. You can go a little bit over on the upper side, but normally anything over 0.5 is a good indicator that's going to continue up. Our system doesn't give that too much weight anymore, but that's something we used to look at. So, always kind of worth just checking out as we throw the lines on here. To the downside, it's not looking too great. The gap's just not wide enough. You got a 0.3% gap, so not even really worth noting. The other thing too is the daily resistance and really daily support are both within the range of the breakout and the breakdown, which is a good signal that if we do break out to either side, we'll have a decent run. Obviously, not very likely to break out to the downside, but to the upside, that's a good indicator. Yeah, we could break out and continue up pretty good. So right now, the other thing that I'm looking at is the 30-minute range here of today is also pretty close to the breakout zone, which is good for the up move. Typically, if you have your 30-minute range closer to one, either top or bottom, that's the side you're going to kind of go for today. Not always, it's just a good indicator. So looking at that today, yeah, we're definitely looking good for the upside. It's pretty close to the upside, so looking nice there. Yeah, really, that's kind of it. Just looking at the lines, overall it's looking good for the upside. The only thing I'm kind of seeing here is on the 50-minute, the jewel is not looking too great for the upside. You're seeing a lot of, basically, to put it simply, all these lines, once they get up to the top, they're going to flip and you're going to see price action kind of fall down. If they're at the bottom, this purple range, then you're going to see the opposite. It'll kind of flip and go to the upside. And right now we're kind of topping out here on the jewels. So, and it's pretty. I mean, it definitely is like pretty good, pretty bad look, I guess, if you're looking to go to the upside here on the jewel. You know, sometimes you'll see like one or two of the lines up there. That'll kind of indicate it, you know, maybe we're getting close to the drop, or we're going to see a little pull lag. But this is pretty consistent, telling us that that's not too great. So, you know, maybe that's one of the indicators telling us that's not a great thing here on the 15-minute. So a little bit of indecision, you know, just on the stuff we've looked at so far. But yeah, we'll see what's going on. Looking at that 1 hour trade, we'll head on to the 1 hour and throw our trade on there. So this is the trade that the target was looking at. It looks like it's already fired quite a bit, and we're looking for target 1 here coming up. So pretty good little trade. It's our system's still learning how to throw the 1 hour and the 4 hour trades, but so far it has been doing a pretty good job, you know, calling the trades overall. Obviously, you know, it's only really called like 1-to-1, so in terms of like, you know, getting this like 2-to-1 or 3-to-1, it's not that great, but you know, 1-to-1, not too bad. It's a pretty decent little trade. It's not anything, you know, to call home about kind of thing. It's not anything crazy, but it is a decent little trade. You know, you put $100 on, you make $100, so not too bad. But yeah, we right now still in training mode, so you know, we're kind of watching it, seeing what's going on. We're sort of, I wouldn't say back testing, but we're like front testing it. So, you know, as it makes trades, we kind of have the system, you know, going back, taking logs basically of all of it, and then kind of rethinking the whole system and rethinking how it's doing. So, and you know, we've kind of get onto it too about certain things. So, yeah, we can, you know, building it slowly, but this is kind of the setup that it's been using so far. And yeah, like I said, it's been doing pretty decent lately. So yeah, I wouldn't expect this not to hit. So we'll see what happens. And again, you know, like I said, it does look pretty good for a little bit of upside room. And it's really not asking it to go much farther. So we'll see what happens here. But so far, you know, pretty good call there on the 1 hour trade. And we'll go ahead and take this off so it doesn't get confusing. 4 hour, there's nothing really happening here on the 4 hour. We are still waiting for a little bit more of that drop. You know, since Tuesday, we've actually been in somewhat of a Elliott wave. I think I was talking about this earlier this week. We kind of have that Elliott wave going on. Top to bottom. And we don't know where this one's going to go, but say it's going to go up there. And then wave 5 will be somewhere around there. Typically, you can get wave 5 by taking all of wave 1 and putting it off of wave 4. So yeah, pretty close estimate there. It's a little bit of a breakdown, not quite as far as we, you know, wanted to go, around that 60,000 level, but you know, it's a decent little drop. So we'll see what happens here as price kind of moves, and see where we kind of get that turn here or close. And you know, it could negate this whole thing. So if we actually get above wave 2 here, so around 65.7 here on the 4 hour at least, that would kind of tell us, all right, this Elliott wave is no longer really in play. It'd have to get above and close, but if we get above and close above there, then that'll tell us this isn't really in play. It's time to turn around and maybe look at some upside here on the 4 hour. Just looking at that, obviously these are all indicators. Can't really use one indicator by itself. You got to use multiple in conjunction, so use them together. And yeah, so right now we'll that's something to look at, something to keep in mind, but it's not like end all be all, you know. All right, let's check out the newsletter basically that we have been building for today. See what's going on with that, see what the agents are saying today about the market, and yeah, and then we'll call it a day after that. Got some appointments I gotta make, so I can't be on it for a super long time, but you know, we'll check that out and then we'll head out. So this is our newsletter. If you haven't seen it before, this is basically something that we're thinking about releasing to the public. So if you guys have anything you'd like to say about it, you know, maybe change the text font, or you know, we don't like the way that it talks like this, or the way it talks like that, or we don't like how it's set up or anything like that, just go ahead and let us know in the comments. We'd be happy to, you know, take a look at it, see if we can fix it or change it up. That'll kind of, yeah, that'll just help us along, you know. Yeah, this is something though that we're looking to possibly bring to the public. It'll basically kind of have you know, what it has now, but just basically a breakdown of the market. You know, whether it's big picture, small picture, we're just looking at the whole market, kind of seeing what's going on, and then breaking that down into you know, more of the daily kind of look at the market. Sorry, I got fuzz on my hat. And kind of seeing, yeah, what's going on. Just so you kind of can get a read of the market, and you get one of these every day if you were signed up for the thing that we're looking at bringing out. So you'd get an email or something with one of these in it, and you'd be able to check it out and kind of see what's happening with the market, see what we're thinking, see what's Kabroda kind of thinking, and yeah, just get kind of like a little breakdown of the market, really, which would be pretty nice to get every day. All right, so today it's saying that BTC structural veto, time frame conflict, and exhaustion momentum. So BTC USDT sits at 64,945, pressed against the 65,046 upper structural boundary with no confirmed acceptance above it, no direct consensus across primary timeframes, and short-term momentum already is spent. System has issued a full session veto. No trade is issued today. So essentially, we're right at the top of our range here on the breakout and breakdown range. Kind of, you know, what we already looked at, I guess, today. The structural picture. So price is navigating bear wave 4, corrective rally that originated at the 60,055 wave 3 low, and carries the structural ceiling at 80,632. If you don't know what that means, essentially it's talking about the longer term elite wave structure that we've been kind of in. We've been talking about it on the live stream for a while now. Essentially, you know, longer time frames like daily, weekly, you're looking at a pretty large Elliott wave structure that's kind of been firing off, and essentially right now, yeah, we're just waiting for it to break one of those two levels, and I'm sure we don't actually have to read the rest of the section, but essentially what the rest of the section is going to kind of tell you is that either we're going to break the top, break the bottom. Essentially what we're waiting for right now is to either break one of those. So we're either the 60,055 or the 80,632. Once we get a weekly close above or below one of those, that'll kind of determine direction. So right now, obviously we're leaning more to the downside, and it's definitely looking more like we're going to continue the downside, but we don't have confirmation yet. And what we need to do is we need to come down and get a close below 60,055, and then we actually have two targets down there that we've been looking at 42,000 or 45,000. Really, we've been kind of saying 50,000 on the live stream just because that's kind of you know, a little bit more conservative, a little bit maybe more reasonable, I guess, to hit. Not that the other two aren't really technically correct. Those are the levels that you should be going for. It's just a little, yeah, more conservative, easier to hit. You know, maybe basically if we're aiming for that level and price is going to come all the way down to 45,000 or whatever, you just know we're going to get out. So that's all that we really need. You know, you get out before the market is at the very end of its move, because when you're trying to get out at the very end of the move, it's always like really iffy if you're going to get out. You know, it barely comes and hits you out. You know, there's those times when it does spike through you and go down to a lower level, but a lot of times if you're sitting right at the target or whatever, it's going to come down and get really close to you and then maybe back off. So if you're not, you know, paying attention or whatnot, it's hard to get out. And even it's hard to call, is that where it's going to turn there, or it will actually come down and hit me out? You know, it's hard to call. So you're better off maybe just getting out a little bit earlier. Yeah, maybe you don't make quite as much, but why not just get out a little bit earlier? It's easier. Yeah, essentially though, that's what that is going to say. If it does break the 80,000 level and get a close above, it's something we'd have to kind of reevaluate at that point. We're not super interested in that if it does that, because it kind of not be like the worst thing ever. It'd just be hard technical analysis wise. So we'll see what happens. Again, you know, it's gonna take time. It's gonna take a little bit of patience, but yeah, that's kind of the idea there. Market sentiment. So fear and greed index is registered at a 28 out of 100. That is fear, reflecting materially elevated broad market risk aversion. This reading is historically depressed and sits in conflict with the 1 hour bullish bounce currently active on the price charts. A fear reading of this magnitude alongside a bearish dominant weekly trend reinforces a structural cause for caution. Sentiment and macro structure align to the downside, while the short-term time frame pushes against the current. So, yeah, we are in a fear trend here. We do have that 1 hour bullish bounce, which is currently affecting the charts. Actually pretty close to getting us out right now. You can see our target here. We actually came up within, like $4 of that. So, I mean, for Bitcoin, that is pretty much, that's pretty insane. I guess it was a little more than $4, but you know, $20, whatever. Either way, for Bitcoin, that's like pennies, really. There's not a huge gap there. If it was me and I had been watching that, I definitely would have pulled right when it came up that close. I mean, just to stay safe. Yeah, pulled my thing down, even if I got out like down here somewhere. I'd actually probably be looking at taking off now if I still was in it. Yeah, so that's the market sentiment there. Today's energy. The 4 hour time frame carries a bullish designation, while the hourly has turned bullish against it. Two primary time frames in direct opposition, with no coherent directional velocity capable of supporting a measured move. The short-term momentum signal is exhausted at the current extension, with the RSI at 70.59. Momentum is statistically extreme overbought and a cross time frame exhaustion signal active. 5 consecutive sessions of exhaustion warnings and persistent overextension on the overnight momentum history identified this level as a structural ceiling, not a launch pad. So essentially, you know, we've kind of had a while of seeing, you know, obviously we've had a while of stand downs. I don't think we've had a live stream in a while where we've actually been able to, you know, look at taking a trade or look at kind of doing anything really. Most of the time we've been in stand downs, and that's just because we've kind of just been in not the greatest market. You know, we've seen a lot of exhausted, a lot of conflictions between the time frames, and you know, over the last 5 days, that's definitely been the case with a lot of exhaustion warnings and a lot of overextension, especially with overnight moves kind of taking precedent. You know, you've seen overnight moves happen a lot of times this week, actually. You know, I think like we were looking at earlier, coming into Monday, we had one. I think it was coming into Wednesday, I think we had one. Kind of coming out of Wednesday, we had one. Yeah, so, and then obviously this morning, technically we had one, but I guess if you weren't up that earlier, it would just kind of be an overnight move. So, you know, kind of all over. Obviously, you know, if we're saying it's not overnight, we're probably thinking after 8 a.m. would probably be the move that we'd be saying, okay, that wasn't overnight. But yeah, a lot of overextension, especially overnight. So this setup. So the system is standing down today, but because of 2 independent veto conditions that fired simultaneously, either of which is sufficient on its own to close the gate. First is time frame confliction. 4-hour daily and the weekly time frames all carry bearish trend designations, while the hourly is flipped bullish, producing a structural collision with one coherently bullish vote out of 5 primary time frames. No measured move has a structural foundation when primary time frames are in disagreement at its magnitude. Price is trapped between the 65,046 upper structural boundary above and the 63,727 lower structural boundary below, with no directional consistency capable of resolving the correction cleanly. Second, exhaustion momentum. The second is exhaustion momentum. The short-term time frame has run far without consolidation. RSI at 70.59 marks an extreme overbought reading. The momentum ribbon is overextended, and deviation from mean sits at 1.37%. Configuration that marks the end of a push, not the beginning of one. Entering along at current levels means chasing after the fuel is already consumed. Entering a short means stepping in front of an hourly bounce that has not yet confirmed its own exhaustion at the trigger. So essentially, you know, we're kind of trapped between 2 means here. We have no fuel for really to take us to the upside, and you know, the hourly hasn't really confirmed. Well, I mean, I guess the hourly is looking good for the upside, but you know, some of the longer time frames are kind of telling us that there's a possibility. We're still looking pretty bearish, so we don't want to be jumping in here on the 15-minute if the hourly is going to get exhausted. And once the hourly kind of flips, that would be, you know, kind of maybe a different story. But for right now, you know, either one, either short or long, you're kind of messing with the 1 hour and the longer time frames. So it's better to just kind of stay out. So what would change it if the long side setup reopens under a specific sequence? The short-term momentum signal resets from overbought, rebuilds energy from consolidation base, and the hourly and 4-hour time frame show at least partial directional alignment before price retests 65,046. Short side setup reopens after a different sequence. The hourly bounce rolls over with the confirmed bearish momentum. Fresh bearish pressure loads on a short. Get the hiccups. On the short-term time frame, and price breaks and holds below 63,727 with structural energy behind it. Both conditions must resolve independently without the other. Without the other is not a valid trigger. So yeah, there you have it. That's kind of what would need to change. You know, the last 2 things are kind of just more internal stuff. You can kind of, you know, look at them if you're interested, but it's not anything that really we need to go over on the live stream. So yeah, we'll see what happens the rest of the day, but definitely looking pretty interesting. As you can see, it looks like we're kind of trying to flip here on the 15-minute at least, so we'll see what happens on the 1 hour. But like I said, that could have been a good place to take your trade if you're watching it. Or, you know, I would even say, you know, maybe right now is a good time to kind of pull it off. Yeah, you won't make your 1-to-1, but, you know, it's still better to make some money. So, we'll see what happens, though, on the longer time frames, like I said. See if we can get a little bit more of a bull push here on the hourly. But overall, you know, we might get another run up. Like I said, you know, the thing hasn't told us that we are in fact showing any kind of exhaustion, so we're still looking to run. But yeah, thanks for coming. Like I said, I got some stuff I have to go to, so I won't be able to stay on really any longer. But thanks for joining. Thanks for hanging out with us for a little bit and checking out the charts with us. Hopefully it was helpful for you. Let us know in the comments if you want to change anything. We'll go, even though I won't be at live for them, I'll definitely come back and check them out. But yeah, thanks for coming. Happy trading, y'all, and we will see y'all next time.